Hello and welcome to Too Many Movies, the podcast where we discuss DVDs, Blu-rays, and even the occasional VHS tape. I'm your host Hal, and with me here today, Kek. What's up, dude? What's going on?
I'm doing pretty good. Hal, how are you?
Man, you know, I'm just chilling and shit. Just finally getting to record the special Blue Velvet episode. Finally.
Yeah, finally.
We're finally here.
A very on-time episode.
Yeah.
Absolutely no delays.
No
setbacks,
delays. Nope, nothing. It was very
whatever.
smooth sailing.
Not on this podcast. We're professionals over here.
Smooth sailing.
But yeah, man. Happy to be on here. Glad, we finally get to talk about some stuff. Although I gotta say, man, honestly, I'm kind of missing out on the cultural zeitgeist that is, I don't know, the fucking Minecraft movie. I could be in theaters watching that, but
Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna have to talk about some boring ass movie by a pretentious hack who, I guess, like guest starred on the Cleveland show a couple times. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's probably the best thing he's known for, but
It's
I
true.
don't know. Anyways.
Yeah. This David Lynch fellow, I'm glad he's dead. Like, fuck him. Because
Like,
the Cleveland show.
What did he ever do in his life to amount to anything?
Anyway, before we piss off any more David Lynch fans, because I mean, let's be real, I've not had the best track record with David Lynch. As I've said before, one of the famous staples of the podcast is the fact that when I talked about Dune on the Dune episode way back when, the very first Dune episode, when Puff and I started our maximum Duning, I made sure to mention that Dune was the movie of his I had seen the most times. And that's still true to this day, even though we've talked about other David Lynch movies on the podcast. Mulholland Drive, we did an episode on. It was good. But yeah, so obviously David Lynch sadly passed away earlier this year. Came to a shock to everybody. And I definitely felt like we needed another Lynch episode under the podcast's belt. So we went with Blue Velvet this time, and I'm glad we did, because Blue Velvet, after rewatching it yesterday to prepare for the podcast, I can say with no hesitation is my favorite David Lynch film. Yeah.
Well, Hal, I think I'm more or less in the same boat when it comes to this being my favorite Lynch movie as well. But obviously, that's not to say I don't absolutely love and adore a ton of his other movies. Like,
of course,
like Eraserhead, Mulholland Drive, I think are two of the all-time greats as well.
Oh, yeah.
Even something like Dune, despite the quality of it not being the best, obviously, there's still a charm to it, as I'm sure you've discussed before. Like, it's a disaster only he could really make, So
here's my hot take. Here's my David Lynch hot take. I like his Dune better than I like Inland Empire.
Oh boy. Okay, now granted, I haven't seen Inland Empire yet. So you could be right, but man, that's gonna piss some people off. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're the ultimate contrarians here on Too Many Movies. So
ooh, you hear that, Brian? You got some tough competition.
Yeah, I'm calling you out right now, right here on this episode, Brian.
This is what this podcast has turned into, a wrestling podcast where people are just like, I'm calling you out.
I got a sword to settle with you, bub. All right.
Blue Velvet. Let's talk about it.
All right.
Yeah. So my history with Blue Velvet is, early on, I did watch stuff like David Lynch's Dune and Eraserhead. Those were kind of my introductions to his filmography. And I famously did not like Eraserhead the first time I watched it. Obviously, I've watched it a couple more times since then. I love it. I'll talk about it on another episode. And then Dune, I hated at first, like seriously fucking hated. It was one of the worst sci-fis I'd ever seen. Obviously, I've matured where I've realized, oh wait, no, this rules. It's fucking hilarious and 80s and cheesy.
Not to mention the bar has gotten exponentially lower
Yeah,
from
yeah, exactly.
watching other movies.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of the movies I've watched early on in my movie watching career that I consider to be the worst, I doubt I would consider to be as bad as some of the stuff I've seen later in years. But anyway, point I'm trying to make is I had a rough start with David Lynch, but by the time I got to Blue Velvet, I watched it and I just went, hold on, there's something here. And I really connected with it the first time I watched it. I couldn't exactly pinpoint why, but something really connected with me on it. Second time around, I watched it again. I realized, hey, this rules even more. Third time around, I officially pulled the trigger and I gave it the full 5. I fucking love this movie. I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like I have no reservations calling it my absolute favorite Lynch. So go over your history with Blue Velvet, please, Cac.
Yeah. So I guess I'm more or less the same when it comes to like, the general watch order. A little bit different though. So when it comes to Lynch, I want to say my first experience with him was, Eraserhead, and then I think from that point I kind of went in like chronological order. So right after that, I watched Elephant Man, which I thought was pretty good too. Which, by the way, not to get too sidetracked, I recently found out was produced by fucking Mel Brooks, of all people.
I think I knew
Is,
that. Yeah,
kind of weird considering, like, his background and all that, but
comedy.
still kind of cool. Yeah, comedy. And the Elephant Man is like a super depressing movie, but But anyways, so I'm not sure if I watched Dune before Blue Velvet or if I went the other way around. It doesn't really matter though, because I particularly got a really unique experience in watching it because by the time I did watch it, I was actually out of my home state, and the place I was watching it at, believe it or not, was in Wilmington, North Carolina, where this movie was filmed.
Oh, I was wondering.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the reason I was even there to begin with, I was like taking like a summer film program. I want to say I was in high school at the time. I want to say it was like
Right.
I was going into my senior year, and I found out about this like summer thing at this art school on the East Coast in North Carolina. So I was like, oh, fuck it, I'll go there, hone my filmmaking skills. So I just coincidentally I watched fucking Blue Velvet while I was there, and I was like, holy fuck, this is it. This is in the town I'm in. So I don't know. I'll always look back on that when it comes to my memories of this movie. Because man, did he like nail the look at what fucking North Carolina's like at night, because Jesus, man. Way too accurate. Way too close to comfort. But
that's it. I'm sending your ass to North Carolina.
Oh, please. It's like fucking you're going to Brazil memes, but you're going to North Carolina.
It's so funny because North Carolina is just like, that's got to be one of the most random states you can villainize. Us being Americans, we have our handful of states we love to just make fun of.
Right.
You're New Jersey, like, you're Ohio, you're Florida. North Carolina, yeah, exactly. I've never had a problem with North Carolina, so it's just funnier to just be like, that's it. I'm sending your ass to North Carolina.
It would be like someone trying to like villainize like fucking Wyoming or something.
Yeah.
Like, dude, what's going on over there?
Yeah.
So no offense to any Wyomingers watching the podcast.
We love our Wyoming fan base, all two of them.
Yes. Yeah. But anyways, going back to what I was saying about Night, I think as like sort of a jumping off point for the movie itself, let's talk about that sort of the duality between night and day in
Mm.
this movie, because to me that's like one of the core, I guess you could say, pillars of what it's going for. So do you wanna start off?
Yeah. So, I mean, first off, let's establish Blue Velvet is a mystery thriller where Kyle MacLachlan plays a guy who's back home from college because his dad is in the hospital, and he's and one day he's just walking through a field in his hometown, and he comes across a severed ear, and that kicks off the plot where he's trying to uncover this mystery of this mystery ear, and it turns out there's like this whole kidnapping subplot, involves this singer at this nightclub named Dorothy. The main villain is Frank Booth, played by Dennis Hopper, the late great Dennis Hopper. And it's just a whole series of events that make you want to vomit because this is a very sickening movie.
Yeah. Yep.
And you know what? It's not even like it's that crass. I mean, it is. There's a lot that goes on here that just makes you violently uncomfortable. But
Yeah.
it's not like it's the most violent or the most sexualized. I don't know. It's not very overt, but it
Yeah.
does deal with a lot, you know?
Yeah. It's perverted, but it has like a class
Yes.
to it, weirdly enough. Like I always, when describing this movie to other people, I always go back to like one of the top reviews on Letterboxd
Mm.
for this movie. That is, it sort of plays out like a Hitchcock film if Hitchcock was possessed by a demonic incubus, which I mean checks out perfectly in my book.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It does seem very Hitchcockian. I think because of that mystery element of you're trying to solve this mystery along with Jeffrey. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
like thematically, you could say it's kind of not exactly, of course, but in a way you could argue that maybe it's sort of like a loose reinterpretation of like Rear Window or something, where it's just like
mm,
this regular guy, he stumbles upon this sort of artifact or situation that nobody else is supposed to know about, and he just so happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time,
yeah.
and now he's sort of taking it on himself to figure out this whole thing, even though realistically he's kind of, you know, pulling everybody else in danger and kind
Way
of,
in over his head. Jeffrey
yeah,
is
way
way in
in
over his
over
head.
his head.
See, here's the fun thing about this movie is that he really sticks his neck out a lot in this movie. He's doing things that in any other movie I feel like would have you throwing shit at the screen being like, you're such a fucking idiot. Why are you doing this? And
Yeah,
at points I do feel that way, but not in a way where I'm like, he's so stupid. How could he do this? I do kind of understand where he's coming from. I think
yeah.
rewatching it.
I think that's what the movie does a good job at doing. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
like he is shown to an extent that he is like a very, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I think in certain scenes he does definitely come across as like an arrogant prick. Like he's just doing it for, you know,
He's very
and not
sheltered.
necessarily like, oh, fame or whatever, but like, he wants like the thrill of like, being like a detective
Yes.
kind of. But at the same time, I do think um how the movie is able to like reel it back a bit and like show him that like he does genuinely care about, the people involved with this, like,
Mhm.
Dorothy or
Yeah.
um fuck, we haven't even mentioned like Sandy yet, but we'll
Sandy.
get to that when we get to that.
Yeah. So I was really picking up on this. So yes, obviously Jeffrey does do a lot where you're just like, you're crazy, man. So obviously one of the first big things he does is he pretends to be a bug man, like an exterminator, to like sneak into Dorothy's apartment so then he can like find a way to like uh kind
Yeah,
of
open a window or
investigate her
whatever.
apartment to kind of like investigate further, and you're just like, dude, you're so stupid, why are you doing this? It's so stressful. Obviously, then you have later on, he actually does sneak into her apartment. He goes through so much stuff where you're like, dude, you as an individual watching the movie are just like losing your mind going like, I would never do
Yeah.
this. I picked up on this though, where I realized the reason I feel like one of the things that's really pushing him to do this is because it gives him purpose as a character. Like the movie starts off with his dad in the hospital, and you see his dad in the hospital. He's just like, paralyzed in the hospital bed. He looks like shit. He looks like he's on death's door. And Jeffrey is so mortified by that he's just like, I will literally do anything else other than dealing with having to deal with my father in the hospital. So,
Man, that's
yeah,
a really interesting
yeah,
observation.
he's like distracting himself. It's kind of selfish because he doesn't want to deal with his father dying. He doesn't want to deal with his father being in the hospital. So he's literally doing anything else to kind of cover that up. Now,
Yeah, he's playing out this power fantasy so he can
yeah,
distract himself from
yeah,
greater truth.
I still think he's still passionate for Dorothy because he does learn to appreciate her as a person, and he genuinely does care for Dorothy. But I definitely think the start of his journey starts in a place of selfishness. I mean, all journeys really do when you think about it, so that's totally fine. Yeah, and I don't think he does come across as arrogant because, again, he is a college kid. He's doing this.
Right.
He's still very young.
I should know.
Yeah.
I currently am one. So.
Yeah. So, but like, I think that's interesting because then that plays into the themes of this movie. Like, I feel like whenever I watch Blue Velvet, the term that comes to my mind a lot is the term underlying, because there's an underlying feeling throughout the whole movie where something is off. So again, this underlying feeling that his dad is in the hospital and literally about to die. He doesn't want to deal with that. So that's not the main point of the movie, his dad being in the hospital, but it's always in the back of your head, as it is in the back of his head.
It's the inciting incident that really gets everything going.
Exactly. Yes. So it's always there. Same thing with, Frank's kidnapping. Just all these things that we'd never noticed before because they're under the mask of this everyday Americana aesthetic, but it's always there. That's why, like, one of the earliest scenes in the movie, when his dad's like having a stroke in the backyard, there's
all the beetles.
It goes underground into the beetles. Yeah. Because there's this underlying disgusting layer of filth underneath this pristine Americana facade.
Picket fences.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I gotta say, like, the sound design, like when he's having the stroke with like all the water like gushing out from the hose, and you see that like little like toddler like walking around and the dog. It's hilarious, but it's also like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
And then it like zooms in on the grass and you see like all the beetles just like crawling around in the dirt, and it's like, oh god. And just like the sounds they're making, like
it's gross, it's disgusting, but that's the point.
Yeah, exactly. I guess going a bit more into the characters now. So obviously Jeffrey finds the ear, and first instinct is to take it to the police, and that's when we're introduced to Detective Williams, and so he shows the ear to Detective Williams. They like take it to like a morgue or whatever, to analyze it, and this is kind of a random thing, but there's this really cool hard cut that I picked up on this time around, and it's when Jeffrey's talking to like the doctor there, and he's like, where do you think the ear came from, or how do you think it removed? And he said, well, it was probably, if I had to guess, it probably might have been cut off by some scissors. And then it hard cuts to like some police tape getting cut, and then all the police are there in the field. Like, I don't know, it's a little thing, but it's stuff like that I really, really dig when it comes to like, editing and stuff. But I guess from there, he goes to Detective Williams' house, and that's where he after talking with him for a bit, we're introduced to Sandy, played by Laura Dern.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about Sandy as a character, man?
So Sandy, I was always kind of weird with, but I feel like the more times I watch the movie, the more I do appreciate her inclusion because she's kind of the opposite of Dorothy. Obviously, you have Dorothy and Sandy, two female characters for the main character, who, and I guess this applies back to like the Hitchcock comparisons. You have obviously the main female lead, who is the love interest, and because I feel like both of them play kind of that Hitchcockian love interest role, where you have the woman that Jeffrey does love, and that is Sandy, because he can actually have actual conversations with her and he like has her there helping him. And then you have Dorothy, who Jeffrey kind of views as like, a prize for him to win, because not only is he helping her try to find her husband, he also sees her as, yummy, horny, sexy lady that he can fuck, which, yeah. But anyway, Sandy specifically, because I always was kind of weird by her inclusion because she gets jealous. Like one of my least favorite scenes at first was when she gets kind of angry at Jeff for like being with Dorothy, and she's just like, "Oh, I thought what we had was special." It's like, you've been denying him the whole movie because you're dating Mike. I don't understand why you're getting angry at this. But I'm like, you know what?
Character to begin with.
Yeah, but I've gotten over it because that's the point. She's in shock because, well, obviously this naked woman is just in her house being like, "Oh, Jeffrey, you've poisoned me with your seed," or whatever she says. And Sandy's just like, "What the fuck is happening?
You spread your disease or whatever.
You spread your disease." Yeah, he spread his disease in me. It's just like, what the fuck is this crazy lady talking about?
And I think it works within the greater context of the movie because pretty much the entire time, like, yes, to an extent, Sandy's been just kind of like been going along, with
she's the connection between him and the detective. That's why like he keeps going back to the detective, because the detective is her father.
Right.
Yeah, so it's that connection. So yeah, she obviously it still makes sense.
Yeah, and not to mention like she specifically, and I guess Detective Williams as well, but her specifically, she's tells him like repeatedly, like across the movie, like, "I don't know, Jeffrey, I think you're getting a little too over your head here. Like maybe you should just like, back off a little bit." But he's like, "No, it should be all right.
That's fine.
What's the worst that can happen?"
Yeah. What, am I going to get attacked by a crazy sex pervert?
Yeah. So I guess in the greater context, I don't really have a problem with it. And I gotta say, like, just Laura Dern's performance when she does, like, figure out what's going on, and the way, like, her mouth, I don't know what it is, but, like, the way, like, her lips and her mouth kind of, like, open up like that.
Yeah.
It's, like, really devastating, man.
It's very Laura Dern, that mouth, Yeah. You look at it, you're just like, that's Laura Dern's mouth for sure. I know that's entirely random, but people will know what I'm talking about when you see it, because Laura Dern has a very distinctive face.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess we can talk about the other big character in this, and that's Frank.
Ooh, we gotta talk about Frank.
Oh my god.
He's the reason we have these profile pictures, because he has the best line in the movie, honestly.
What kind of beer do you like?
Heineken.
Heineken? Fuck that shit. You gonna say it? Or?
Oh, I thought you were doing Frank's line, so that's why I didn't say it. I didn't want to step on your moment, but if you wouldn't mind, I'd love to say it.
I mean, you're the one with the PBR profile pic, man.
Yeah. Pabst Blue Ribbon! It's so good.
There we go.
Such a good line.
So good.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Pabst Blue Ribbon does trump Heineken every time. I'm sorry, but Heineken, I mean, look, I'm not even a beer snob. I don't even hate Heineken. I'm just saying PBR is my beer of choice. Like, so yeah, it really is that good. But obviously I guess this movie does side with Heineken technically, because you literally have Jeffrey get a Heineken at the beginning. He's like, "You like Heineken? King of beers." It's like, weird, but whatever. The best line
I
is
think he
literally
calls,
it's
King
literally
Beers.
just Pabst Blue Ribbon. That is the line. That is the funniest line from the movie. So I feel like I feel like more people are gonna remember PBR from this movie than they are Heineken.
Right. Yeah. And I do think technically, during like one of Dorothy's shows, like you can see in frame, like there's a PBR
Yeah.
by Frank's death. So yeah, so some PBR love in this movie, not just in that line. But
Yeah.
I didn't really even think about this before, but do you think the reason why he drinks Blue Ribbon is because he's obsessed with Blue Velvet?
Oh,
Like the song or
definitely. You can absolutely make that connection because yes, he's obsessed with the song Blue Velvet. She wore blue velvet, but like,
whoa.
also yes, he's actually obsessed with the fact that Dorothy wears a blue velvet robe. He's literally putting it in his mouth while he's fucking her. You know, he's putting it in her mouth while he's fucking her. He has that piece of blue velvet for the rest of the movie that he holds like a little kid holding a blanket. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I wouldn't doubt it for a second if David Lynch was just like, I'm gonna make him drink PBR because Blue Ribbon, Blue Velvet. Genius, David. It is genius, David. I agree. I love PBR. I want to use it in my movies too. But yeah, and yeah, so let's talk about Frank though, because he is, as the movie calls him, a very dangerous man because he is. What I love about Frank is he's both extremely terrifying. He's a terrifying villain, but he's also incredibly juvenile as well. He is if like, I don't know, a 6-year-old kid never truly grew up. He is a 6-year-old boy in the body of like a, I don't know how old,
40-year-old
it was
man,
like 50,
however old like Dennis Hopper was.
I think he was 50, yeah, because
50.
Dennis Hopper was what, born in 1936. This came out in 86. Yeah, he was exactly 50.
Yeah, 50 years old. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, he's literally, because like you especially get that in this first scene when he walks in. You get the terrifying angle because she's just like, "Hello, baby," and he's just like, "You fucking fuck! You call me daddy," or something like that. He bitch slaps her.
Yeah.
But then she's like getting ready for like their ritual that you don't really understand, but she is just going around lighting candles. She sits on a chair, and he's immediately like, "All right, spread your legs." Like he's not even. There's like this whole sexual ritual. That's the best way I can describe it. Sexual ritual, because it's not sex necessarily. I think there is penetration. You just don't see him take his pants off. So I don't know. It's filmed weird, but that's the point.
Implied through,
yes.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's dealing with it in such a juvenile way. He's literally going like, "Mommy." He's treating it like he's a teenager that doesn't actually understand what sex is. And I feel like that really just shows you, because you'd think that would make him a lot more juvenile and ergo not as threatening. But Dennis Hopper is such a masterful actor that he's still able to make himself seem terrifying and still be this immature guy who just has very deeply repressed sexual trauma in him.
Yeah. Definitely. It really, like, just watching him do what he does, it's like, in a sense, like, I feel in a sense like, you know, when it comes to like other Lynch films, like he doesn't necessarily like lay everything out for you.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in this movie's case, it's like, how the fuck did someone like Frank ever come to be in the first place? You know, like how does somebody end up like this? You know?
Yeah, and you can kind of fill in the blanks yourself. You don't necessarily. It's never necessarily said, but you can kind of figure out. Again, like him looking at Dorothy and calling her mommy, you can kind of fill in the blanks. Where you're like, okay, I see where this is going. But it's never explicitly said. And for the best, you don't need to explicitly say how he came to be. Yeah. You can figure it out yourself and kind of fill in the blanks yourself. Exactly. And I feel like that makes it a lot more terrifying because you're like, what did happen to this guy?
Yeah. And not to mention just like the whole ritual itself is like, you're watching it from Jeffrey's POV while
Mhm.
he's in the fucking closet naked,
Yeah.
and he's just like watching this woman get essentially raped.
Ostensibly
So
raped.
it's
Yes, she's
pitiful.
absolutely getting raped. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, no.
yeah. Oh, we didn't even mention the fact that Jeffrey is watching the whole time from the closet because, again, yeah, like we
Yeah.
said, he snuck in earlier and he gets caught by Dorothy. Well, we got to mention that scene. So, like, I love that.
Oh,
I love
dude.
that a toilet flushing kind of kicks off the plot, really, when you think about it.
I was just gonna mention that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that because, again,
Yeah.
a toilet flushing is what gets him caught, essentially. But it's done so in a way that it still makes sense and it doesn't take away from the seriousness of the movie. You're never like, oh, that's ridiculous. It's still funny, but in a way that's still tonally appropriate.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, because he literally
should have laid off the Heineken before coming here.
Exactly.
So he didn't have to take a mad piss.
Yeah,
but,
it was really funny when he's like taking a piss, and they obviously dubbed it over, where he's just like, "God damn Heineken." But yeah, because he flushes the toilet, he doesn't hear Sandy's signal when she honks the horn,
Right.
and so then Dorothy comes home and catches him in her closet, and at first she takes him for like a sex pest, like a pervert,
Ex-pervert, yeah.
which he kind of toes the line because he keeps going back to her, and it keeps becoming explicitly clear that he is in this for sex on some level. So she wasn't inherently wrong. But this is Dorothy's time, because you see Dorothy, she is like this very broken, very, very sad individual, Dorothy. Like, she always looks like she's about to cry in every scene. But yet here's this one moment where she like actually gets Jeffrey on the floor on his knees while having a knife to his head. And she all of a sudden has the power.
Not just his head, but
his balls, yes, his
Yeah.
dick. But that's the thing. Like, now she has power over him, and like this is one of her few times where she actually gets to have power over him. Because obviously then Frank comes in and completely dominates her, and so you start to understand why she is the way that she is, and why she kind of takes on Jeffrey. Why, like, Jeffrey's like, I'm gonna go, and she's like, no, please stay, because she needs somebody. But it's a little toxic though, because again, even though she finds comfort in Jeffrey because he does learn to care for her, I absolutely believe that, but there is that underlying toxicity between the two of them where they start having sex, and she's like, you need to beat me because that gets me off. It's like, and he's like, I don't want to do that, but eventually he caves in. He doesn't have to, but he feels he has to. He doesn't really.
I got to bring up one of my favorite scenes in the movie is like right after his confrontation with Frank, and he's just like sitting there on his bed, and like they're like, you know, showing clips from earlier of her saying like, you know, hit me. And he's just like breaking down, like crying, like, dude. Damn, dude.
Yeah. Kyle MacLachlan, man, he kicks it out. He really does this role really well. And yeah, him crying, I'm like, all right, yeah, only Kyle MacLachlan could have done this. I can't imagine anybody else as Jeffrey. Which is funny, because to go off a little on the history of the movie, the fact that, you know, this was post Dune. This was Lynch's first movie post Dune, and obviously Dune was when he first met Kyle MacLachlan, and and
along with a couple other actors in this movie, but we'll get to them.
Yeah, but anyway, so Kyle MacLachlan was chosen to be the lead in Dune, and I mean, he was pretty wooden in that movie, but you know, who wasn't wooden in the fucking Dune, in the Lynch's Dune? Everybody was horribly miscast in that one. Well, I guess
you could argue Sting, maybe, but
Sting was the absolute best. Yeah, he was the best actor in that movie. We can't deny that. But but anyway, I'm glad Lynch saw something in Kyle MacLachlan, because then he's like, hey, please be in my Blue Velvet movie 2 years later. And Kyle MacLachlan was like, sure. And yeah, Kyle MacLachlan knocks it out of the park in this role, and he's great because, again, he is a bit of an arrogant dickhead at times, and you definitely feel that. You know, he plays the role of young college kid really well, but sympathetic. Like, that's the thing. Even though he could get arrogant and he absolutely does have heart to him, where you're just like, he is a bit of an asshole, but you are rooting for him. Like I feel when Jeffrey breaks down in that scene, like you were saying, it's perfect. Like, yeah, I feel for Jeffrey. I want to see him like make it out okay in the end. That's what you need in this role. Is you need somebody who can be young and naive and kind of airheaded and stupid, but still come away as being likable and understandable, where you're like, I want to see this. I want to see him make it out to the end. And
Absolutely.
again, Kyle MacLachlan nails it. I love his role in this movie.
Yeah, I really do too. And also, I gotta mention another really underrated supporting role in this movie. You can actually, if you pause the movie at like a very specific frame when he's running to the closet and when Frank first comes in, you can see his dick a couple times, so that's pretty cool. I guess.
BRB, I'm gonna go find those frames for research purposes.
Research, yeah. And assuming if it's anything to go by, that part of him would, of course, go on to be his co-star in a certain other movie. About 10 years later, I couldn't tell you which one, but I don't know.
The one where he dresses Bully Maguire. I know it all too well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, everybody got AIDS and shit.
Everybody got AIDS and shit. That's what this movie really needed.
I agree. Yeah. If this movie took place in the Showgirls universe, maybe it does. Because Kyle MacLachlan in this movie and Kyle MacLachlan in Showgirls do have oddly similar hairstyles. So yeah. It's like maybe
it's Jeffrey's twin brother.
Oh, his unseen twin brother. Yeah, I couldn't make it back, twin brother. I was too busy going to school in Las Vegas, becoming a Showgirls director or whatever the fuck I do in Showgirls. I don't remember. Who cares?
Yeah.
Showgirls mention.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Are there any other like scenes or moments that kind of? Well, I guess we can talk about like Jeffrey's investigation itself, because I do think that's a really interesting part of the movie. Him just like putting together this mystery, like for example, when he's watching Spying on Frank meet with the Yellow Man, at the warehouse, and he's got that like little camera on a string, and he's like.
That was cool.
It.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like that. And he's got like a bunch of like snacks, like a bunch of like fucking Doritos just all over the dashboard.
Yeah, that's a good attention to detail that the movie never really calls attention to it, but it's there for when you notice it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's just really cool, like that montage in particular, like just him describing like Frank met up with the Yellow Man, and then the Yellow Man met with the man with the alligator briefcase, and then then there was a dude who died in an apartment, and there was like a hooker who got her legs like just fucking destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely that's a really interesting scene.
Well, the investigation in general is interesting because you are actually trying to figure out, because it's not like an overt mystery where you're trying to solve what is happening. You kind of know what's happening, but like you're getting actual details as they come along, where you're like, okay, we're starting to piece it together. It's not like a whodunit where like the twist in the end is like, oh, that's who did it. You know right away that Frank is up to no good.
Right, yeah,
and so then it's
just a matter of Jeffrey getting enough evidence so he can present
and trying to see like how they can actually help Dorothy in the end. Because then one of the big scenes in the movie is when Frank actually confronts Jeffrey and Dorothy. Like they are walking out of Dorothy's apartment, and that's when Frank confronts them, and he's just like, how'd you like to go for a ride? He's like, no thanks. He's like, what do you mean no thanks? He's like, for a ride, hell, that's a great idea. They just take him for a ride.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah,
enjoy ride.
Yeah, that's the thing. Frank, hilarious. Not only that's a great That's a great back and forth between him and Kyle MacLachlan's character. But obviously the Pabst Blue Ribbon line. Again, Dennis Hopper does this role really well, where he's able to be terrifying and juvenile and even a little bit funny. Like when they go to Ben's, so they go to Ben's, Ben played by Dean Stockwell, great actor, great actor.
We love Dean Stockwell on this podcast.
Oh yeah, he's my favorite Dr. Yue. Hot take. Again, that's probably another big hot take of mine. He's my favorite Dr. Yue. But he's great. Because Ben, he's another one of those characters. You're just like, what's up with him? Well, what's his deal? But again, you're never really explicitly told. He's just there. You know, it's very Lynchian. Yeah. This character who has an entire set of lore to him, but we don't know it because it's not really important. Matter. It doesn't matter. I doubt David Lynch has any idea who he is. He's just like, wouldn't it be funny if I just gave Dean Stockwell eyeliner and lipstick and just made him act like this?
Lip sync to In Dreams.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's But there is something there. Man, oh, go ahead.
The In Dreams scene. When he lip syncs onto it, like the little lighting from the microphone and just he's doing the little dance, swaying back and forth. And I didn't even notice this before, but Brad Dourif, who's in this movie, he plays like one of the Frank's like cronies.
Yeah, one of his hired goons, Raymond.
Yeah, Raymond. He's I didn't notice this before, but he's like during that sequence, he's like in the back and he's like, I don't know what the fuck he has, like some kind of like belt, and he's just like moving up and down, like he's on a fucking like triple or something. Like, I don't know, man.
Brad Dourif rules. He's so good.
Exactly, I love him.
But to go off on that scene, in general, with that scene, I wanted to bring up how Frank acts in that scene. He's just like demanding so much from everybody around him, like he's the center of attention during that scene, and it's really scary because he's just like yelling at everybody. But it's also really funny because he's looking at Jeffrey, just being like, "Hey, be polite," and he's like kidding him and stuff like that. It's obvious ironic stuff, but I love it so much. I love shit like that when villains are just like, "Hey, be polite, be nice," and he's obviously being the biggest dickhead there. It's great. I love that.
And I think it's ironic you bring up, especially how he's the center of attention, because throughout the movie I picked up on this. He's all like, "Don't you fucking look at me." Like that's,
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a very interesting thing, which again, not really explored in the movie, but leaves a lot to interpretation. But I think just another thing that makes Ben's whole club works so well. And I was talking about with a friend about this movie who also loves it a lot. And he brought up how like there's no like visible doors or like windows. Well, there are doors, but they're like, completely boxed in. Like it creates like this claustrophobic like atmosphere to it. And
in that scene specifically, you're saying?
In that scene specifically, yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know, like it's definitely, to me at least, the most Lynchian part of the movie, if that makes sense. Like, it's not really like one particular element. It's more or less like a combination of things, like sort of like, the very like bright lights or the fucking girls at his place. These like middle-aged
the fat old ladies. Yeah. You're just like, what's their deal?
Why the fuck are they there?
I love that. You bring up a good point. Yeah, how this is probably the most Lynchian aspect of the movie itself. Because I wanted to talk about that. I think through rewatching it, I've realized why this one I think connects with me the most out of all Lynchian films.
It's because it's the least.
Well, not that it's the least Lynchian, because I think this absolutely is a movie he would make.
Right.
It's definitely his most grounded, I would say. Like his most down to earth one, where it's like, I can buy this taking place on planet Earth, even though he makes movies that are set in America, and like, I feel like this is his most accessible film. which is
Yeah, I
it's
think
pretty
that's
funny.
fair.
It's pretty funny because I think another one of his most accessible films would be like The Straight Story. That's probably one of his more normal films, which if you've seen The Straight Story, that's really funny that of all of his movies is his most normal one. But I
Yeah,
feel like this one kind of toes the line where it's his most normal one, but still having that surrealism to it. Because yeah,
yeah. I think a lot of the weird, surreal aspects of this movie more or less come less from like the story and more so from like the way it's filmed and like the way it's edited. Because
right.
there's one scene that always like that sticks out to me. Like it's in the club, like when Frank they're about to go for another joyride, and Frank has the awesome line, "Let's fuck!
Yeah.
Oh fuck anything that moves!" And then
Yeah.
like everyone in frame just like disappears,
Oh
and
yeah.
then it dissolves to,
The car.
then down the highway,
Yeah.
which again, that's another David Lynch trademark. Um, it's in Lost Highway 2, and
Mhm.
I think Mulholland Drive as well. A
Maybe.
couple other, yeah,
I mean,
and I
Drive
think
is in the title,
Wilder, but
so
I don't know. But
yeah.
yeah.
Well,
But anyways,
so yeah, when you think of David Lynch, obviously people always say he's the surrealist director. And yeah, when you think of movies like Eraserhead and Mulholland Drive, they're very, very surrealist. They do not take, even though they take place in quote unquote America, they don't
well,
they don't take place
Eraserhead,
uh
I don't know.
yeah, it's again, it's debatable because it's
Yeah,
the
sure.
movies themselves, the worlds they inhabit are very cut and dry Lynchian, which is
Yeah,
fine. Like I love those movies for different reasons, but I like how in this movie, there is still like a set in stone story, a set in stone characters, a set in stone logical reality that you're able to experience, but there's still that surrealist tinge to it. Again, it's very underlying. Like the
yeah.
surrealness is a lot more subtle than your typical
It's
David Lynch films.
America through like a distorted lens,
Exactly,
and
exactly.
I really like that
Yeah,
too.
which yeah, I was reading up on this movie a little bit, and yeah, like a lot of people have pointed out, David Lynch is very quintessentially American filmmaker. A lot of his movies have that American quality to them, even if they're like yeah, like a Racerhead. It's a little weird and out there, but it still harbors a very American idealism. Obviously, the one standout from that is Dune because well, Dune takes place in space, not America.
Right.
So that's why
Yeah,
that one
and I guess
usually
The Elephant
stands
Man
out.
too, technically, which is in like 18th century Britain, but nah, whatever.
Oh yeah,
You know.
Elephant Man. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, I'd
Well,
say that's probably another contender for his like more accessible movies,
oh
because
yeah,
again,
absolutely.
like that there's not that much weird stuff other than,
Yeah.
I guess, kind of the true story it's based off, and the editing,
Hmm. Hmm.
especially. But uh, that's a discussion for another day.
Of
So back
course.
to Blue Velvet.
Well,
Um,
since we're still on that scene of like, they're in that room with they're at Ben's place. I wanted to talk about another hired goon because you had brought this up in your review, Jack Nance,
mhm.
who's famously the main character of Eraserhead, who was in a couple other Lynch films. Obviously, he was in Dune. He was one of the I think he's the guy. He's one of the Harkonnen guys who's just like flying Baron Harkonnen in that one scene. You know what? It's not even worth trying to
Wait,
remember
is
because
he
it's
the guy
weird.
with the fucking like rat contraption thing?
No, he's not that guy.
No,
But he
not
is in
that
that.
guy.
He is in that scene. That is Jack Nance
Yeah,
is in that scene. Anyway, but yeah, famously he was in Eraserhead, and in here he's Paul, one of the hired goons.
yeah, and he makes you know his name's Paul.
I love that. Yeah, that's so
I love
funny.
that.
It's because it's so random.
I'm
He's just
Paul.
like, I'm Paul. And then like all the other hired goons are just like, good one, Paul. It's just like, I don't get it, but you're not supposed to get it. That's what makes it great. But yeah, you made a good point. Yeah, Jack Nance looks a lot older in this movie than he does in
Yeah,
Eraserhead, which I get it.
and
It had only because I don't think Eraserhead was filmed in 1977. It was filmed in
yeah,
like
for,
the early
from my
70s.
understanding, it was like filmed over the course of like 5 years.
Yeah,
So like
yeah.
between like 1970 and 1975, or 71 to 76. I don't really know.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But by the time like production had wrapped up, Jack Nance, I think, was only like, I think he was like just about 30 when he
Mm.
wrapped up. So it was like throughout his 20s. But here he looks like fucking. He's pushing 60. So I don't know
Yeah.
what fucking happened
I mean,
between that time.
yeah,
But
he did die in 96, and what is it,
yeah,
96 to 43? Hold on, I need to do some math.
yeah.
Yeah, he only died at like 53. Like he was only 53
Damn.
years old when he died, which is
Yeah.
pretty young. That's very young.
Yeah. Mhm.
But yeah, no, he was great. Even though he's again, he only gets a couple scenes where he's just like, "I'm Paul," but again, it's memorable.
Yeah. Definitely. Um, I guess going forward into the movie, I guess, man, what really does happen? So, obviously, there's the club with Frank. They go to like a construction site or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They beat the shit out of Jeffrey.
Yeah, it's great.
We got that great moment where Dennis Hopper just like smears his fucking mouth full of lipstick
And
just
kisses
like
Jeffrey.
kisses
Yeah.
him. Like tells him, "Do you know what a love letter is?
Yeah.
It's a bullet straight from the fucking heart," or whatever
Yeah.
he says. But another memorable Frank line, personally.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then of course he wakes up. It's morning, and then he goes home. And I gotta say, I really love the moment where he like talks. Well, not really talks, but just like goes downstairs to have breakfast with his mom and his aunt. And they see that, you know, his face is like all fucked up and he's got like a black eye and all. And the first thing he says when he sits down, "I don't want to talk about it."
That's so good.
It's so good. Which, by the way, not that they're really important, but Jeffrey's mom and aunt, like, they're there, I guess. You know, well, actually, there is something interesting that I did find out, like, just the other day. The actress who plays Jeffrey's mom, she's miraculously still around. She's like over 100 now. So that's pretty cool, I guess.
And guess what movie she was in also besides Blue Velvet?
What movie was she in, Hal?
Bud the Chud. Bud the Chud. Bud
Oh,
the Chud. Yeah, she's in Bud the Chud. And we just watched that
Oh
yesterday for Wheel Night. I finally introduced a lot more people to Bud the Chud. Fucking holds up immaculately.
All right.
Had to mention Bud the Chud.
I guess after I record this, I'll have to begin my my Chud maxing arc.
Okay.
Yeah,
The Chud maxing arc.
Chud maxing arc.
Anyway.
Coming.
Anyway, fuck it. Yeah, I love that scene when he's just like, "Aunt Barbara, I love you, but you're gonna fucking get it." It's like, yeah, I just love how then, even though like after he's had the shit kicked out of him from Frank, he's like, maybe I can move on, you know, finally take Sandy out on a nice date night, you know, kind of put this all behind me because I can give this all to Detective Williams. Because again, he finds out that Detective Williams's partner is the Yellow Man, and
yeah. I gotta say, man, the way that scene is framed is just so good, dude.
Yeah.
Like he just walks in there and he sees him on the desk.
Oh,
like I distinctly remember when I first saw that scene, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, great.
Like my heart just like my stomach just like completely dropped.
It's
like,
great. Yeah. It's great because it really fills you with so much dread where you're just like, oh, who can I fucking trust? And I like that it doesn't
aspect,
I don't
not to cut you off, but sorry. Another thing I completely forgot about, the music. The Angelo Badalamenti score.
So good.
Holy fuck, dude. So good.
But anyway, so fucking yeah, it's a great reveal. It's great to show that, like, you know, Jeffrey is in kind of over his head where he realizes, fuck, there's corruption, the police are in on it, who can I trust? And I like that it doesn't go too far where he can't even trust Detective Williams. Like, Detective Williams is genuinely like a good detective, and he's actually trying to figure out himself. Like, he's not like also in on it. I feel like that would have been a little too far, where it's just like, oh, come on, man, like everybody's in on this. So I like that you can still trust Detective Williams, because I like the scene when he's at the Williams' house preparing to take Sandy out on a date, and the Yellow Man walks in, and Jeffrey at first gets really scared, and then Detective Williams comes walking out, and he's just like, "Easy there, Jeffrey. I'll handle it." And you're just like, "Oh, okay." Like that's a great moment.
It's reassuring.
Very reassuring, yeah. But not too far where you're just like, "I'll handle this." Like it's done so very subtly and very nicely. It's very nicely done. I like it.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Another I guess going back to like the more thematic elements this movie's going for, one particular moment that kind of sticks out for me is I forget exactly when it happens, but it's when Jeffrey and Sandy, they're in the car together, and she brings up the dream she had about the robins.
Yes.
Now, and of course, throughout it, she talks about how, like, oh, the robins represent love, and the love, you know, when the robins came, all of the bad stuff went away, or, you know, whatever. Now, I want to circle this back to David Lynch as a whole, because I do think this movie in particular kind of cements like what I love about him so much as a filmmaker and an artist, and that's how genuine he is. So like I feel, I want to say, in like the hands of like a lesser filmmaker, maybe like a more conventional filmmaker, they treat this whole monologue as like, you know, like a joke. Like it's so like hokey and sappy and whatever, you know. But what makes the scene work so much for me is that you genuinely believe every word that's coming out of Sandy's mouth, you know. Like there's a genuine energy to it.
Yeah. Because
like this, like pure optimism. Yeah, go on.
Well, because I think it is hokey, you know, because she is going like, "Oh, the robins represent love," and inherently I'm just like, lame, that's gay. But like, you know, I still believe that Sandy believes that. Like she actually finds comfort in that dream. And so even though I'm just like, that's gay, it doesn't matter. Like the characters believe it. And you're right. David Lynch absolutely does bring that whole like genuineness to this world. And so even something as hokey as that still comes across as legitimate. I agree.
Yeah. Like whether it works a lot better than rather if it was played for like a joke or whatever. Like imagine if this movie was made today, like just Sandy like pours out her heart for Jeffrey, and then he's like, well, that he turns to the camera and he's just like, well, that just happened. Or you know,
yeah, okay, Sandy, whatever.
Yeah, okay, Sandy.
Oh yeah, no, it'd be cringy.
Awkward.
Yeah, there is a missing genuineness in a lot of modern movies today, and even, but also it's kind of hard to be genuine because of how irony pilled a lot of the internet is. But then I guess that just means Hollywood needs to realize, hey, not everything is about the internet. You know, real people don't always go on the internet; they also go outside and touch grass and stuff like that. But whatever, that's a conversation for another day. We gotta go back to Blue Velvet. We gotta go back. Yeah, no, but like also again, I think because that's the other thing is like that's a very nice scene. A lot of the nice scenes in this movie are also just weird because again, even though Lynch is very genuine in showing how much Sandy actually cares for her dream, there's still that weird twinge where you're just like something's off. They're, you know, some of their first conversations early on when they're walking down the neighborhood, you know, one of the things Jeffrey says to Sandy is like, I used to know the kid who lived in that house. He had the biggest tongue in the world. You're like, pardon? What? Huh? Yeah, who says that? Why do you tell a girl that? Like, yeah, I used to know this kid.
He says, hey, you ever heard of the chicken walk? She's like, what's that? And then he does the chicken walk.
Yeah, if I did that to a girl, they would put a restraining order against me. It's like, you don't, that's not a normal thing you do. But of course, Sandy's just like, ha ha ha, that's very interesting. I guess you have to be as cute as Kyle MacLachlan in the 80s to pull that off, which, okay, fair enough.
I also, you bringing that up, I completely forgot about like all the other sort of weird oddities in the movie. Like, during the opening credits, there's like the Zolv of the fucking fireman, like just waving into the camera.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. That is one of those like very saturated Americana kind of images that it's very obviously overly saturated, where you have like, oh, the guy in the old timey fire truck waving. It's so forced and fake, but that's the point. Like, that's the thing with a lot of movies that will portray kind of like, you know, fake positivity in movies, where it's just like, oh, this place that's all cheery and nice, it's actually deeply disturbing underneath. I feel like that trope has been done to death a lot, especially in the modern age. I feel like this one gets away with it because this was back when you could do that and it actually would be a subversion.
It was a fresh concept.
Yes.
A relatively fresh concepts back then. But even not just in regards to like, you know, the sort of like
the time period
satire of Americana, but also like the scene, like I think it's right before Jeffrey first goes to the Williamsons' house. We see this guy, this like big fat guy, and he's got like wearing like, I don't know if it's like sunglasses or like some kind of like goggles or whatever, but he's just like standing there with his dog, and they're just like standing in like this very weird place. I don't know, like, again, like, realistically, I could go on for hours about just like all these like random weird shit.
Well, you have the guys that are working at the hardware store with Jeffrey, who are called Ed and Ed, and they just refer to them as Double Ed. And they're these two black guys. One of them is blind, and it's these weird oddities where you're just like, that's strange, but it's still taken as matter of factly. Like, you know, the blind guy can just see like the fact that Jeffrey has 4 fingers up. It's never brought up.
Well, I think what works about these like random things is that I feel like to an extent, like every little town has like their own like weird quirks or history to them. So I think exactly.
But like actually quirky, not like fake quirky where they're just like, I'm so quirky. Like, no, legitimately quirky.
Yeah, like eccentric or whatever. Which is especially why I'm especially excited for you to check out Twin Peaks someday, because in a lot of ways, this movie is like a prototype for that show. Like the whole sort of like satire on like, you know, a small American town where everything isn't as it seems, but it's like that, but like just taken to like another level. So again, very excited. But even ignoring that, like I think this movie just works as like its own little oddity, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
And I really admire that. So
I'm never annoyed by its like, oh, this Americana is such a facade, you know? Because again, I am sick of that kind of like candy coated stuff is actually deeply disturbing on the inside kind of trope in movies and shows and whatnot. But like, I'm okay with it here because again, it was not done as much in the 80s, but also putting aside the time period it was made in off to the side, the fact that David Lynch can pull this subversion off because he is that talented of a filmmaker and he has a vision. Exactly. It's his vision of that.
Yeah. All right. I guess we can talk about the climax now.
Sure. Yeah, the fact that this movie even has a climax.
Yeah, I know, kind of weird. Well, actually, before I bring that up, I want to talk about, well, I don't know. Do you want to save physical stuff towards the end?
Yeah, we'll save that towards the end. Yeah, let's just go right into the climax.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay, sure. So yeah, so what does happen? So Jeffrey, so they go, they find Dorothy, they take her to the Williams
Well,
house.
so yeah,
They have
so what happens is like he's driving home from the party with Sandy, and they're being chased
yeah,
by a car, and you think at first, oh fuck, it's Frank, because Frank is, earlier in the movie, Frank was this reckless driver, and you think, oh, it's Frank, but then they see it's Mike, Sandy's ex boyfriend, who she left for Jeffrey,
yeah,
and Mike is just like, hey man, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. You stole my girl, man, and then they're at his house, and Dorothy comes walking out completely naked. And he's just like, well, is that your mom? And he's just like, oh, fuck, Dorothy. And so they have to like save her. And to Mike's credit, he's just like, hey, man, I'm sorry. I didn't realize. Which
yeah,
is great. I like that Mike is, for very little screen time he gets, he's not entirely unlikable. You're just like, you understand
yeah,
because, again, Sandy did break up with him to be with this Melvin. You're just like, he
yeah,
in Mike's mind, he's like, what the fuck? But
yeah.
like he's not,
Not
so
to mention,
he's not like an NPC that can just be tossed off to the side of the story where he's not important. Like he actually does try and affect the plot, but it's not his story. So the movie does away with him in kind of a way where he's like, hey man, I'm sorry, I was just drunk, like I just wanted
yeah,
to confront you. So like it's
yeah, and
understandable.
that's another thing in Twin Peaks as well, where it's sort of just takes like these sort of generic like stock characters, and
Mm-hmm.
even if they're not like entirely plot relevant, and like you said, they kind of do them away, like they still like have like elements to them that make them more
Yeah,
less cutter,
yeah, more human
uh,
than, like even the background characters have a soul to them. It's not just
sure,
like he's not just stock throwaway, and like because the movie's not on him, like he's not important.
yeah,
It's cool. Anyway, so yeah,
mhm,
then the stuff starts to amp up once like Dorothy's naked and afraid, and they're really starting to try and like track down Frank. Um, and Jeffrey realizes like, okay, I've really fucked things up. I need to be the one to solve this, which is why he goes to Dorothy's apartment, and waiting there is the Yellow Man, who I love the Yellow Man, how he's just standing there, but you can tell he's practically dead, but
like no, he's totally dead. He has like fucking brain tissue
yeah, but
on like
like
the side of his head.
but like
Yeah.
his body is still functioning in some way where like it'll still move its arm, like it's still working at
Really?
like
I
a
didn't even
base
notice
level.
that.
Yeah, no, he
Yeah.
because he's standing up, like like I would say the brain is dead, like he's not conscious anymore, but his body still moves. I don't know how they would have done that, but I feel like you
I mean,
can fuck with the body so much where like it'll still have involuntary movements even after you as a person have passed on.
right. I mean, it's either that or it could just be the actor, he kind of moved around accidental. I'm not sure if it was
No,
like
it's
a
definitely
model or something.
it's definitely in universe. He's still like they did something to his brain, or they shot him in a way, they like killed him in a way where like his body still like
Yeah.
moves around. And it's supposed to
Yeah.
be weird. Again, Lynchian. It's very weird.
Mhm.
And then you see like
Yeah.
the husband, who the husband is dead. Like it's straight
Yeah.
up, the husband died. Like he didn't make it
Right.
out, which is sad, but it's
Yeah.
it's it's so sad.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
he has like the blue velvet strip like tied
yeah,
over his mouth.
his ear is
Mhm.
missing to show that that was
Yep.
his ear at the beginning of the movie. Um,
Yep.
and then yeah, Frank comes back, and you see Frank was the well dressed man. Um,
hmm
I
Which
like,
again,
yeah,
I love the disguise
yeah.
that he puts on. It's like the least convincing thing ever.
But
It's like the big
yeah,
glasses and the
yeah,
fake nose and the
the,
bushy mustache.
it's like one level behind. It's like one level from becoming the Groucho Marx glasses. You're right. Yeah, it's which I would have loved that if that was just what Frank wore, was the Groucho Marx glasses.
Oh man.
Uh,
Uh, but yeah, no, I really love the way the scene progresses.
mhm.
Like like Jeffrey sees him coming up, so he hides. He takes the yellow man's radio,
Yep.
and then he puts it like under the bed, and he tells quote unquote Detective Williams that I'm hiding upstairs beneath the bed
Yeah.
or whatever.
Well, that's great
And that
because he realizes in the moment, he's like, "Fuck, that's right. he would have a police radio because he was working with the Yellow Man. So Frank knows everything the police knows. So he's just like,
Exactly.
so he has to think quickly, like, I'm in the kid's bedroom. And then he runs back out into the closet, and Frank's just like, you fucking idiot. You're obviously in the kid's bedroom. I heard you on the radio. It's like, yeah, he gets the slip on Frank. It's great. That's a great moment where you're just like, fuck yeah. And yeah, him hiding in the closet comes back. You think like, you wouldn't think like him hiding in the closet had plot significance, but it does, because it's what saves him. So remember, kids, be a pervert. It'll save you.
Life lesson.
Yeah, life lesson. But yeah, then Frank, I love Frank's death, where like he opens up the closet door, and fucking Jeffrey just shoots him in the head, and his brain just explodes out the back of his head. Yeah. Perfect.
And you can see like the dummy.
Yeah, it's obvious.
Yeah.
But it's cute. I still like it. Yeah. I still think it's cute.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And honestly, kind of a weirdly happy ending for a David Lynch film, I gotta say. I mean, yes.
Well, I don't know. I feel like most of Lynch's movies have like a bittersweet feeling to them, but this one, yeah, it's definitely like ultimately like a happy outcome for pretty much everyone. Like, you know, Jeffrey and Sandy, they're back together again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Robins
have come back. Yeah, the dad is just miraculously better.
They're eating the Beatles.
Yeah, the dad is just miraculously better. He's just like, yeah, I feel great. It's like, oh, okay. Which, you know what?
Great, Jeff. Never better.
Yeah, that would have been too far if like, oh, the dad died and stuff like that. It would have been too sad. Yeah. It's like, I'm fine with, because, you know, not everything that goes wrong in life ends up going wrong. I feel like people have this misconception where they're just like, oh, life sucks. It's like, no, life is neutral. So like, things can just miraculously get better, you know? They can miraculously get worse. They can miraculously get better. It doesn't matter. So like,
anything can happen. Yeah.
Anything can happen. That's what happened. You know what? Porky and Wacky Land. Anything can happen. No, but seriously though, like I like that, you know, because again, that's not what the movie was about. The movie wasn't about the dad in the hospital. That was just a way to kick the plot off and to have it in the back of your head just to add to the stress of everything else going on. So the fact that he's just miraculously better, it's like, yeah, fine, whatever. Like, good. I'm glad.
Right.
Because again,
and I also really like the detail that the Beaumonts and the Williams are just like hanging out.
Yeah.
Now, like that's cute.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Totally. Yeah. And again, yes, like you were saying, the Robin has the beetle in its beak, implying that like things are starting to get better.
Right.
Not everything is all good. Everything is hunky dory. Again, we just witnessed, you know, this drug ring run by this rapist. It's like, we're never going to be the same after all that, but things can get better.
Right. And I really love that kind of optimistic messaging, because again, like we were saying earlier, like there's just so much like irony and, you know, I don't want to necessarily say like not doomer, what the fuck is the word?
Doomer applies, you know.
Yeah, doomerism or
cynicism, nihilism.
Cynicism.
There is a lot of that in media.
This movie, just despite all of the horrible, fucked up shit that happens, it shows like things can get better.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Things can improve.
Yeah. You can,
as you know, Jeffrey and Sandy say across the movie multiple times, and the tagline of the movie, "It's a strange world."
Yeah. You can have horribly miserable stories. I'm fine with that. In fact, I love a lot of horribly miserable stories. I love when movies and shows or just any piece of media can go so hard into the paint with being depressing. I'm fine with that when it's applicable. And I think this could be as depressing as it could be, but still be uplifting, because I'm also fine with movies going so far into being uplifting and being fantasy. It's like, that's why they're movies. They can literally be whatever you want them to be. So if they can be fantastically sugar-coated and happy, again, if it's applicable, go for it. If not, maybe rein it back a little and, you know, get a little depression in there. But I think this toes the line just perfectly enough where like it has the most depraved shit you would ever see a person do, but not going too far that it's that again, it's too far. But also the schmaltziness still feels earned where you're like, yeah, this is a happy ending. I'm happy where this ended up.
Absolutely. Definitely.
So
Right.
perfect Lynch film in my opinion.
Yeah. Even if there ever comes a time when this is no longer my favorite, which I don't know, maybe I'll have to see Mulholland Drive like 2 or 3 more times, and then I'll be like, oh fuck yeah, this is his best movie without a doubt. But I think for now, like this is like you said earlier, it definitely feels like his most accessible movie, but it's not to the point where he's like dumbing down his style or sensibilities. Like it's
right.
You said it perfectly. This is very much a David Lynch movie. Only he could or would want to make something like this. And I think even though like he's no longer with us, like this movie will continue to endure for I don't know how long.
Absolutely.
Hopefully forever.
Hopefully forever. I mean, absolutely forever. Like it's an iconic film in its own right at this point.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, no, this is I've always said I haven't watched all of his movies. He has like 103 movies on Letterboxd. A lot of them are short films, I've realized. And I want to watch them.
Yeah, he only has like I want to say like 10 theatrical films, and then there's Twin Peaks and whatever.
Yeah. So obviously, I'm nowhere near done with his filmography. I want to watch them all. It's only a matter of when can I get to them. But I think no matter what, even if I come across something that I love even just a tiny bit more, or I learn to appreciate something else more, Blue Velvet is just far too special for me to just kind of put off to the wayside. So for now, it is absolutely my number one favorite David Lynch film. I can't think of any others that would trump it. But if one ever does come along, that doesn't take away the special bond I have with this film, because I love it so much, and it's only gotten better and better every time I rewatch it.
Yeah, kudos to that. All right. I don't know. Any other things you want to talk about the movie itself, or do you want to just straight go to physical?
I think we've talked enough about the movie. It's very good. And yeah, I own it on physical media. More specifically, the Criterion 4K.
Wow, what a coincidence. I just so happen to be holding that as well.
What the fuck? You mean they made more than 2 of these? The fuck?
This is getting out of hand. Now there are 2 of them.
I'm not the only one who owns a Criterion Collection 4K of David Lynch's very popular film Blue Velvet. That's crazy.
Man, I know. Fucking wild.
Really makes you think.
Yeah. David, you've done it again.
So yeah, I thought it looked great on 4K. Obviously it's a Criterion. I'm a little weirded out by the way the box itself is kind of weird. So it's a slipcover box, and then you open it up, and it's like a little book. And
yeah, I don't know. I really like. I understand, like, the slipcover, it's a little weird and finicky.
Yeah.
But I think, like, the overall packaging is, like, really, really cool.
Yeah.
Like, how it's, the room, Dorothy's apartment, room 710.
710.
And you open it up and you see her, kind of...
on the floor of her apartment.
Down.
Yeah. And it comes with a little booklet. It's fine. This is not the worst packaging I've ever seen. It's just kind of arbitrary, because again, you open it up and like the book will just like kind of slip out, and it doesn't have its own like pocket it's in. I like when DVDs and Blu-rays have that option where you can have like the book kind of inside something if you're going to make it a like a flip book of sorts. But it's not the biggest deal in the world, because again, it's Criterion, so they're high quality, so they're not going to like fall apart. I mean, they're not like, obviously notoriously the Godzilla 4Ks fall apart. No, not the Godzilla 4Ks, the Godzilla Blu-rays. It's the Citizen Kane 4Ks. The big
Showa era set?
Yeah, the big Showa era set is notorious for like the glue melts and everything just kind of falls apart. So that stuff is no good, but Criterion more often than not is usually pretty high quality. So that's why I keep always getting stuff. If I have an option for a Criterion version of a movie, I tend to go for Criterion. Obviously, I'll go for any boutique Blu-ray label, Arrow, Vinegar Syndrome, Shout Factory. Like, they're all my go-tos, but Criterion, I will not stick my nose up at. They got some good products there. So, this is one of them. I love the Criterion 4K for this. I love the little booklet. I started reading the essay. I haven't finished it. I'm really bad at not being able to finish the essays in these nice books, in these nice editions of the movies. I'm really bad at not reading them.
I managed to sit through it last night, like after I finished watching the movie. It's really, really interesting just seeing like where a ton of like the inspiration from this movie came from. For example, the scene, when Dorothy is, walking around naked, that actually came from like a core memory Lynch and his brother had. And they just saw this naked woman walking down the street, and they were like, what the fuck was that?
Wow. I can't believe me and Lynch have a shared core memory where we remember seeing a naked woman walking around. Have I ever told that story? When I was 16, when I was 16, I was in Times Square with
Times Square?
Yeah, it was for a church youth group trip where we went to New York to like work at a homeless shelter. And then afterwards, we were like, well, let's go see the sights of New York because we're in New York for a weekend. And so we went to Times Square, and there were these women, and they were completely naked, and they had like the American flag painted on their chest, but you could still see that they were obviously naked, and they're just like showing off. And there's all these like sweaty dudes like kind of showing them off, being like, everybody look, American chicks. I don't remember what they were saying, but like I just have this core memory of like, yeah, this is again, I was 16 and I see these naked women in the middle of Times Square. I'm like, I should not be seeing this, especially on a church trip, but oh well.
Maybe God had a plan for you that day.
Yeah, God's plan.
I don't know.
Yeah, well,
God's plan.
he made that happen so then I could talk about it on this episode specifically. So there we
Holy
go.
Shit. Awesome.
Anyway, yeah.
One more thing I want to bring up that really took me by surprise on this when reading this essay. Apparently, the first cut of this movie was almost 4 hours long. I'm not kidding you.
Oof, too much.
Yeah, no.
Look, I love this movie, but that's too much.
Yeah. Even Lynch, like when he first saw it, he was like, "Yeah, dude, we gotta cut this shit in half." Like
what?
None of these scenes are adding up to anything. But that's not to say I'm not sure if this Criterion comes with any deleted scenes. I didn't really check. I'm not really one for special features that much, but if they are, obviously still out there,
the lost footage,
I would want to see them, like see what was cut and
what
was changed around and what.
The lost footage, 53 minutes of deleted scenes and alternate takes assembled by Lynch. Okay,
all right, awesome.
Yeah, so that does come with that stuff.
Check that out someday.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, I love this movie a lot, but 4 hours.
That's too much.
No, thank you.
No thanks. I think 2 hours itself is a long movie, but like I've never bored while watching Blue Velvet. Like 2 hours is the perfect length for it.
Yeah, one thing I didn't even mention before is just how perfectly fucking paced this movie is. Like there's no fat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is weird because it's 2 hours long. You'd think there would be fat in there. No, it's perfectly paced.
Yeah, definitely. And again, going back to like the Hitchcock comparison, it does have like that very like, straightforward, like some scenes might seem a bit like meandering at first, but like
there's a reason.
All comes, full circle.
Yeah.
In the end,
There's a reason for it.
But I think I've given my 2 cents on just about everything. What about you, Hal?
I'm definitely keeping this 4K. I can't think of another version I would want Blue Velvet on. It's just a very excellent film. It's an excellent 4K. It's an excellent Criterion version of the movie.
Mm.
I bought it specifically. I think I bought it this year. It had to have been this year I bought it. I don't often like buying movies the same year to then do an episode on them. Obviously, I've done that countless times. I'm trying not to do that, is what I'm trying to say. But I couldn't, because I bought this specifically because it was around the time Lynch passed away. And I'm like, I got to have Blue Velvet on 4K, dude. And so I went out and bought it. And this was the only copy of it at Bull Moose when I found it. So
yeah, I was going to say,
me.
Was this another Bull Moose?
This was a Bull Moose pickup. Yep. So yeah, no, I was very excited. I was literally the only copy of Blue Velvet in the entire store. I'm like, yoink. And yeah, here it is.
Yeah.
So
well, maybe the store owner put it up just for you. Maybe he's a fan of the podcast and he realized, hey, maybe he'll talk about Blue Velvet someday.
Yeah, God's plan. God made him do that.
God's plan.
We've become a very religious right-wing podcast all of a sudden.
Yeah. Destroyed the woke garbage.
Preach it, brother. Preach it. This podcast is brought to you by Alex Jones's supplement. I don't remember what it's called, but it's the one that made him red. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. Kak, anything last minute before I have you shout out your stuff?
Nope. I think we're just about done here.
Then you know the rules. You know how it goes. Proceed.
All right. Well, to everyone watching, if you liked hearing me talk, go shoot me a follow on Letterboxd.
Or just shoot
him. Yeah, don't shoot me.
Sorry.
I very much like to be alive still.
Yeah, no, don't shoot him.
I don't know.
I'm kidding.
Shoot Hal, maybe. He seems cool with it.
If you can catch me. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, but yeah. So follow me on Letterboxd if you want. I haven't really been watching that much anymore. Unfortunately, as a college student, college has been kind of kicking my ass recently, so I haven't really had too much motivation to, sit through a movie. But you know what? I'll probably change that up soon and get back into the swing of things. But either way, if you like what you heard here, Hal will link it below. So
summer's around the corner.
All right. Well, it's been fun.
Yeah. Any
outro we have planned, or
she wore Blue Velvet. Well, I mean, hey.
Whoa.
Yeah. Well, what's your beer of choice there, Kak?
Heineken, I guess.
Heineken.
I don't know.
Fuck that shit. Pabst Blue Ribbon. There, that can be our outro.
All right.
Wait a minute.
Bye, everyone.
You're in college. You can't be drinking beer. Don't be telling me that.
Heineken? Fuck that shit! Pabst Blue Ribbon!